Hello, everyone, and welcome to our event. My name is Ashley Schultz, one of the managers of research and consultation here at Grants Office. Today, we're going to be discussing how to unlock K-12 funding opportunities, just kind of running you through this quick guide for grant success. Before we get started, I've just got two quick housekeeping things for you. One, you can ask questions at any time during today's event using the Q&A interface on the right-hand corner of your screen. You are more than welcome to submit as many questions as you'd like, and we'll get to those questions towards the end of our hour. You can also know that this session is being recorded. The recording is going to be available for download at the Grants Office website starting tomorrow. The PowerPoint slides from today's presentation are also going to be available in that same location. So again, today we're talking about funding for K-12 funding opportunities. We are joined today by Sam Rawdon. Sam is a Grants Development Associate here at Grants Office, and he specializes in K-12 funding. He's on our K-12 funding team. He has been very busy with schools across the country this month as they wrap up their school violence prevention programs, or SVPP grant applications this Thursday. But we're really excited that he was able to set aside some time and share some amazing information with us today. High level, this is what we'll talk about. Sam will go through the K-12 grants landscape kind of as a whole, what individual funders look for, and then some general strategies for grant success and kind of how to get your school or how to get your organization started. And again, we'll end today's session with Q&A. Please, again, feel free to drop questions into that bottom right-hand corner of your screen. We'll get to as many questions as we can. So with that, I'm going to pass things over to Sam to get us started. Sam?
Great. Thank you, Ashley, and thank you for everyone who was able to attend today's session. So just to start, I'd like to take a look at what the K-12 grants funding landscape actually looks like. So really, the focus of K-12 education funding has evolved over time. So this is a quick snapshot as to what that's really looked like. Starting with equity and access, this established that idea that federal dollars should help make sure every student, no matter what their background is, has access to a quality education, and really laid the foundation for funding priorities that ensure those themes of fairness and opportunity. Then national interest in and competitiveness is where we saw a big push for STEM, so that students would be ready for the modern workforce and the global economy as well. After that, there was a shift to focus on innovation and reform to help improve student outcomes and close achievement gaps by trying new approaches in areas related to teaching, learning, and really overall school operations as well. And then most recently, we've seen a focus on emergency response and recovery, especially in response to the COVID pandemic. Federal funding during this time was ultimately aimed at helping schools pivot quickly, recover from disruptions, and support students and staff during that very challenging time. So as we think about grants and future funding opportunities in K-12, it is important to keep these evolving themes in mind. They help us not only understand not just where we've been, but also where we're heading as well. So where are we heading exactly? This is looking at the current K-12 funding priorities, and really three major areas are being emphasized at the federal level. First, there's a strong push for evidence-based literacy, which supports reading instruction that follows what's called the science of reading, which is an approach that's backed by research, emphasizing clear, systematic, and purposeful teaching of foundational reading skills, with the ultimate goal to ensure that all students build strong reading abilities from the ground up. There's also a growing focus on education choice, which is supporting, giving families more options when it comes to choosing the best learning environment for their children. So whether that's through school choice programs or other methods that allow them to select what will best fit their child's needs. And then there's also a growing shift toward more oversight to the states, meaning that state level education departments are being given more control and responsibility over decisions related to things like curriculum, academic standards, and even how schools are run, with the ultimate goal to help ensure that these decisions are better aligned with local needs and values. So each of these priorities are going to influence how funding is going to be allocated, as well as what kinds of programs and initiatives are likely going to be seeing support. So as you can see, there are, grants as a whole. There are three primary sources of grant funding. Each of these sources comes with their own pros and cons. So understanding the differences is key to figuring out which type of grant best fits your project, as well as best fits your timeline. And as a real quick note, the figures that you see on the screen represent overall grant making activity, not just specifically for K-12 education. Now, federal grants are usually the largest in terms of dollar amount, excuse me, because they're open to applicants across the country. They're often very competitive, and the applications can be very detailed and time intensive. But with that said, the payoff for federal grants can be significant if your project is a good match to the grant. State grants function similarly to the federal ones, but usually with a smaller pool of applicants, since they are limited to schools and districts within that state. Now, while the average award size for a state grant may be a bit smaller, it is often an easier process overall. Really, not only to contact state agencies, but also the application process itself. And also, like I said, the overall competition tends to be lower. Some states are a little more active than others in their grant making process, or are in their grant making activities. But a lot of states do have strong grant programs that are worth exploring. Then we have foundation grants. These are typically offered by private, corporate, or community foundations. Generally, they tend to focus on local, community-driven initiatives and are typically smaller in scale. The good news here is that while they are smaller in scale, they may offer smaller award sizes. The applications themselves are often simpler, they're faster to complete, and have quicker turnaround times when it comes to announcing awards or deciding on awards. And because some of them are so locally focused, your competition might really only be other organizations, even in your county or in your neighborhood. So when considering where to apply, you'll want to think about your project scope, as well as your available time and capacity, and the level of competition that you'll be prepared to face. So let's take a look at some broader goals and initiatives that we're seeing schools successfully fund through grants. Now, these examples cover a lot of ground, but they are all in high demand in the K-12 space. Technology and STEM, for instance, these sort of grants are helping schools invest in things like devices, software, robotics, coding, and other tools to help engage students and prepare them for future careers in areas like science and technology. There's also been a huge growing recognition of the need to support the whole child. So mental health and student support services funding is often available for, say, school counselors, social workers, mental health programs, and interventions that really help students thrive emotionally and socially. Facilities and infrastructure has been another key focus. So whether it's modernizing classrooms or, say, updating HVAC systems, these sort of grants can help with physical improvements that directly impact the learning and the health of the students. Career and technical education, CTE programs, connecting students to real world job skills. Think like manufacturing, healthcare, IT, things like that. And really many grants are available out there to expand these pathways, as well as updating equipment and technology. And then from learning new instructional strategies to, say, integrating technology in the classroom, teacher professional development can support ongoing training, so educators can continue to grow and better serve their students. This, of course, is not an exhaustive list of what can be funded. There are a lot of different avenues to explore with K-12 grant funding. This is ultimately depending on your school's goals and needs. So keep these categories in mind, and really think about how similar initiatives might benefit your own students and staff. So if you've already looked through some common grant opportunities, and you're ready to branch out and do your own searching, there are a few go-to resources that we often check regularly for any new and upcoming grants. So for example, grants.gov, this is our most used resource and really serves as the main hub for federal grants. Through this site, you can search across all 26 federal agencies, apply for grants directly, and even manage the reporting requirements once you've received funding. And this can all be done in one place. So if you're pursuing federal funding, this is definitely where you'll want to start. You can also explore individual agency websites. We frequently use the U.S. Department of Education site, but other federal agencies, such as the Department of Justice or Health and Human Services, they also offer grants that could apply to K-12, especially for things like STEM, mental health, and technology. Also, don't overlook your state's department agencies either. State education departments and other agencies, they often post current grant opportunities on their websites. And these can really be a great option, especially since the competition is usually limited to schools within your state. Foundation Center, which is also known as Candid, is a resource some of you may be familiar with already, but if not, it's a large-scale, searchable database of over 100,000 private, corporate, and community foundations. While it does require a subscription, many libraries, public libraries, actually offer free access to it. And then also one big perk about Foundation Center is that while a lot of foundations don't have their own websites, Foundation Center is a really good place to look at things like their past giving, who they've funded, and even how they like to be contacted. And these are all done through their IRS 990 tax forms. And then finally, don't underestimate Google. A few well-phrased searches can quickly lead you to local or regional grant opportunities or any websites of organizations that support K-12 projects. So it is a great starting point if you are not sure where to begin. One quick pro tip is to make sure that you sign up for any email alerts or listservs from any agencies or foundations that you're interested in. This is just so you'll be the first to know when new grants become available, or if it's a bit challenging for you to do that. Set a weekly calendar reminder to check your top grant sources. This is really going to be a great habit to help you stay ahead of any deadlines and opportunities. So with a better understanding of what the K-12 funding environment looks like, what do K-12 funders actually look for? So just to start, I'd just like to touch on what grants actually fund. As you begin searching for them. Now, grants usually are not written to cover a single item or a one-off purchase. Instead, most grant programs are designed to support bigger, more comprehensive and holistic projects, things that aim to, say, improve student achievement, promote equity, or even support overall school improvement. So let's say that you're hoping to get funding for something specific, like an interactive display board, for instance, for your classroom. If you put interactive display grants in Google, chances are you probably won't find much. But if you search using broader terms like, say, student engagement or collaborative learning environments, you are going to be more likely to uncover those sort of opportunities. And that's really because funders want to support the impact of the project, not just the stuff or the things. So you'll always want to ask yourself, what is the goal of us purchasing this? Who is it going to benefit? What sort of educational challenge is it going to help address? Then when you're writing the application, you can explain there how the interactive display you're looking for is a tool that supports those bigger goals, like enhancing student engagement through multisensory learning or improving collaboration or even increasing retention. You can even go a step further and build in things like professional development for teachers or additional classroom materials that support your main goal. Ultimately, thinking bigger is going to make your application stronger, and it'll help align it with what the funders are actually looking to support. So what are they looking to support? When you're applying for grant funding in the K-12 space, it's also very important to understand what these funders are actually looking for in the application. These are 5 areas that tend to come up again and again in K-12 grant applications. The first thing is that they want to see alignment with funding priorities and goals. Basically meaning, clearly showing how your project supports what the funder cares about. So whether it's literacy, student support, or even access to technology. Also, they're going to look for a need for strong evidence of need. It's not enough to say that the project is important. It has to be backed up with data. So this could include things like test scores, enrollment numbers, community feedback, and other documentation that can show that there's a clear gap that your project is going to address. They're also looking for a clear, measurable impact on students themselves. Funders want to know how your project is going to make a difference. So is it going to improve learning, increase engagement, support student well-being, and just as importantly, how that impact is going to be measured. Then you'll want to demonstrate your organizational capacity to manage the funding. K-12 funders, they want to feel confident that your team can carry out the work and handle the reporting, the budgeting, and other grant responsibilities to go along with those. And then finally, they look for sustainability plans. In other words, what happens after the grant ends? They really want to see how you're going to keep the project going long term, how it might grow, and how you're going to train staff or build systems internally to maintain that impact. So really keeping these 5 elements in mind is really going to help strengthen your application and increase your chances of getting funded. So let's just take a look at some real life examples of K-12 programs that are out there. These are by no means exhaustive. So let's take a look at a program like the Education Innovation and Research Program, or we just call it EIR. This program supports schools and districts that are developing or scaling innovative evidence-based approaches with that ultimate goal to improve student achievement, especially in ways that close opportunity gaps. Moving on, 21st Century Community Learning Centers is another example. This funding is designed to support after-school and out-of-school time programs, especially in high poverty and underperforming schools, with that goal to give students more opportunities for academic enrichment and support. And And then there's also Perkins 5, or Strengthening CTE for the 21st Century, which helps schools expand or improve high quality career and technical education programs that get students ready for those high skill, high wage, and in demand careers. So these are just 3 quick snapshots of programs just to give you a sense of the types of programs that are out there that align with funder priorities, whether that's through things like innovation, equity, extended learning, or career readiness. So now with a really good understanding of what K-12 funding looks like, as well as what they actually look for in an education-driven project, I'd like to just give some helpful tips on making your project what we call grant ready. So when it comes to applying for and managing grants successfully, one of the first and most important steps in this process is going to establish a strong grants team. So it is going to be important to include a variety of roles and expertise. This might mean having someone from finance, curriculum, IT, school administration, and even teaching staff at the table, because really different team members are going to bring different perspectives and strengths to the project. Then you'll want to clearly define everyone's roles and responsibilities on this grants team. So who's writing the proposal, who's handling the budget, who's gathering the necessary data. When everybody knows what they're doing, when everybody knows their part, things are going to run a lot more smoothly. Also, engage key stakeholders early. So this could include, again, principals, teachers, district leaders, or even community partners. So bringing them in early is going to help better your chances of building a strong, supported project. Regular communication is also going to be key. So set up consistent check-ins or planning meetings to keep everyone on the same page. This is going to be especially vital during the application itself, as well as the project implementation portions of the grant as well. And then finally, provide any training and resources. Grants can be very complex, so making sure your team feels prepared and supported is going to help you manage the funding more effectively and really help increase your chances of long-term success for the project. So another important part of a successful grant project is building those strong partnerships. So working with external partners like local nonprofits, businesses, colleges, or community organizations not only shows broad support for your project, but it also helps you increase the overall impact and strengthen its sustainability over time. Also, these partners can bring a real value to your project. They might offer matching funds or contribute specialized expertise, or even help you reach specific groups of students or families that you're trying to support. So to really show funders that these partnerships are serious, you can include letters of support or even formal MOUs in your application, just to show that there's a shared commitment to the project's goals, as well as to make the application more credible and competitive. But in short, partnerships can help you take that grant from good to great by bringing in new resources, support, as well as energy to achieve those shared outcomes. So when it comes to writing a strong grant proposal, just a few key tips here to help make a difference. As I mentioned before, grants fund comprehensive projects, not just products, meaning that the funders want to see a full plan, not just a request for new equipment or technology. So you'll want to make sure how items are used, who's involved, what the goals are, and how that success is going to be measured. Then let your project's needs and goals guide the plan. Start with the problem that you're trying to solve. So that way your team and your budget will be built around what's actually going to make an impact. You'll also want to learn about any post-award requirements before you apply, because some grants do come with specific reporting requirements. So knowing what's required ahead of time is really going to help you avoid any surprises later. Also, use what we call SMART goals. If you're unfamiliar with the term, goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, results focused, and time bound. And these goals will help your project stay focused, and will also show funders exactly what you're planning to accomplish. And then finally, always have someone from outside your team review the application before you submit it. A fresh set of eyes can catch mistakes, confusing language, or any missing details that you might overlook. So following these tips hopefully can really boost the quality of the application and help you stand out in that competitive grant process. So with these strategies in mind, I just want to quickly touch on what can be done now on how to get started on actually putting together a grant application. So few key steps here. The first one, really take time to review the schools or the district's strategic plan. These documents already outline what those priorities are, and really aligning the grant proposal with these plans will show funders your project is fitting into a bigger picture. Then identify a real need using data. So the stronger your evidence of need, the more compelling the application is going to be. And then engage those key stakeholders early that I mentioned earlier. Involve the right people, and in doing this from the beginning is really going to help you build a stronger, more complete application. And also it's going to ensure that everyone is on board with the project goals. And then you'll want to also clarify what exactly you're asking to be funded. So if you're asking for things like staff time, equipment, training, curriculum, or anything else, this is just going to help to ensure that your application is focused as well as realistic. And then it wouldn't be a bad idea to draft a simple summary or outline of the project. It does not have to be perfect. But creating a short overview or abstract of your project is going to help organize your thinking and communicate those core ideas to others. But it also gives you a good starting point for writing the full proposal as well. And then it would also be ideal to create a calendar and a task list. A good strategy here is to break that application process into manageable steps, set deadlines, assign responsibilities. These ultimately contribute towards a clear plan, and having a clear plan is going to help you stay on track, as well as to avoid any last minute stress and jitters as the deadline approaches. But ultimately, taking these steps is going to help you build momentum and really gives your team a clear path forward as you begin the grant application process. So with that, I'm going to turn things back over to Ashley.
Thanks very much, Sam. Wonderful amount of information. Folks, if you have questions on the content that Sam just presented, I would again draw your attention to the bottom right-hand corner, that Q&A interface. I have 3 questions here from the crowd so far, but if you have some more, please feel free to drop them. While I talk for a second and Sam takes a big drink of water, I will just say that we have an additional resource on our website. We've called that Guidance for Grant Seekers. So particularly those last 2 slides that Sam talked about in terms of, planning out your project, pulling in key stakeholders, building a budget, making that justification, setting those SMART goals. We actually have a series of videos that walks through each of those steps in more detail. Totally free for you. You could follow this QR code here or head over to grantsoffice.com and click on Guidance for Grant Seekers, and you'll see all of that information in there. I will also just quickly call out our company as a whole. So again, we are Grants Office. We have been working in grants for 25 years now here in the United States. We have folks on hand, just like Sam, who can help you walk through the funding landscape for your school, help you weigh the pros and cons of individual sources of funding, whether that be federal, state, or foundation grant funders. We also have folks on hand who can help you with the application process all the way up until you click submit. So I mentioned earlier that Sam's been pretty busy with SBPP applications this month. Our team here is available to actually put pen to paper on your behalf, or just review proposals that you or someone else in your district has written. So I'll just call those 2 resources out to you. Should you want some more information, chat with Sam, chat with other folks on our K-12 ed team. So I'm only seeing 3 questions so far. Oh, I see a 4th question. So I'll start with those 3. The first one, Sam, came up pretty early in your presentation. It was about federal funding priorities. And this question is about DEI and how that's kind of affecting the K-12 federal funding landscape now and then also in the future.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's I would say aside from the countless legal battles that's going on that's surrounding this issues, it's really tough to say. From what we've noticed, I can say federal funding that's in statute, so think of things like Title I or IDEA funding, should remain relatively untouched. But significant cuts to any DEI related programs may be in the foreseeable future. Again, going back to those current priorities, about school choice or less federal oversight. That's also going to sort of play an effect as to how federal dollars are being allocated in the K-12 space, especially with those concerning DEI policies. But again, the ongoing legal uncertainty surrounding it remains. But I just want to shout out that, yes, we do have resources that covers this. We have a live blog that's been going on, as well as previously recorded webinars that we've hosted about this topic as well. So yeah, that's a good question.
Great, thank you. The second question here is about school leadership. So this question came in when you were talking about kind of getting the right individuals on board. Any advice on how to get school leadership on board for applying for a grant if they're maybe hesitant or have been spurned in the past?
Yeah, that's another really good question. I think when it comes to buy-in for grants, there are several factors that contribute to that lack of buy-in. Like you said, maybe they're skeptical about grants, or they just don't have the capacity. I think one really good approach to get that sort of buy-in is to sort of think back to what I mentioned earlier about aligning the grant and the project to what the schools or the district's current priorities are, that's listed in their strategic plan. So really, in other words, maybe framing the grant as not just something extra to do, but rather thinking of it as a tool to facilitate any current priorities.
Great, perfect. And then there's a question here. Actually, I have 2 questions about eligibility. So I'm going to give them to you back to back, and then maybe you can answer them one at a time. The first is about private schools. So maybe commenting about private schools and how they interact with the funding that you mentioned today, or is it really just limited to public? And then the second question is about location. Do you have to live in the United States to get one of these grants? Could you answer both those back to back?
Yeah, I can. So I would say, like, I know that, while yes, private schools, when it comes to their eligibility for government funding, especially federal dollars, that doesn't mean that there aren't any opportunities for them. As I said earlier, private, corporate, or community foundations offer grants that are specifically geared towards a lot of different educational priorities, whether it's STEM, curriculum, innovation, or even providing equal access. Using Foundation Center or Google are going to be your best friends. Also, going back to state funding, state grants can offer grant funding specifically for non-public schools. So it is a great idea, again, to check your state education agency's websites for any grants that a non-public school would be eligible for. When it comes to outside of the United States, that really is going to be dependent on the program. I think obviously from from maybe a foundation or a state level, they wouldn't really offer grants to anybody abroad. There may be some federal funding opportunities out there, but ultimately I think that's going to depend on the type of project that you're looking into, as well as the grant itself.
Perfect, thank you. And I will just tack on to that second question about where you live in the world. The guidance for grant seekers page that I referenced actually has a whole video. This is a weird shameless plug. It's me talking on the video, but you can come listen. It's about 15 minutes long about, no matter where you are in the world, what does the grant-seeking landscape look like if you're trying to find funding in countries that are not your home country. So definitely feel free to go check out that video if you want to listen to me for a few more minutes. And then I'm just going to cut things off here because I recognize we're 4 minutes over our intended timeline today. Again, if you have questions that we did not get a chance to answer, please reach out to us. Education@grantsoffice.com is a great way to get in touch. You'll probably hear from Sam or someone else on the K-12 team. But Sam, just to wrap up our question here today, it's about program sustainability. So not necessarily sustainability in the green sense, but sustainability in terms of what you were mentioning in terms of ongoing program support. Frequently see this question in grants, but limited district funding really makes that argument a challenge. How do you address the idea of sustainability in grants when ongoing district funding is, not guaranteed or is a challenge to find in the first place?
Yeah, that's another that's a bit of a tricky question because I know districts again are not some districts or schools may not be at that capacity to address those sustainability concerns. But I think also that it's going to depend on the type of program that you're looking into. I think really scaling your project to the grant itself is going to be important. Generally, what we find is with large federal programs, the sustainability is going to be a lot more tricky. But I think something with, say, state grants or foundation grants, it's going to be less so. I think really it's ultimately going to depend on the grant itself. Not sure if that answers the question, but hopefully that kind of gives you an idea.
Yeah, and to our audience member who asked that question, if you want to chat with Grants Office a little bit further, again, it's just education@grantsoffice.com. So everyone, thank you again for sticking around here with us for an extra 6 minutes. We hope you found this event to be a great use of your time. Happy summer vacation to folks in the South. Happy almost summer vacation to folks in the North. We hope you have a few very well-deserved weeks off before the students come back to you later in August and September. Do keep in touch with the Grants Office. This QR code here brings you to our website should you have an interest in, again, learning more about our services or watching some of those guidance for grant seekers videos. We look forward to engaging with you in the future. Thanks again.